West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand why this is an issue.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
June 18th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Got a great show for you lined up today. Representative Marlin Stutzman is going to join us, Congressman from Congressional District 3 in Indiana. This is a fun story. I'll give it to you guys here in just a minute, but got a chance to meet him indirectly because his cleat is in my house. His baseball cleat.
Just the one?
Yeah.
Just one?
Just one.
But you guys thought it belonged to Taylor Swift and brought it home or something? You're like, aha, I have it. I'm taking it home. Or is this some sort of weird collection thing that someone in your house does, that they just try to take things randomly from lawmakers?
Yes.
Or maybe it's
exactly right.
maybe it's just a left shoe. Maybe it's a left shoe thing that they're looking at. We're just collecting left shoes. What is it? Yeah. How the heck do you have a cleat from a lawmaker that's not even from Colorado in your house? How did this happen?
So last week was the congressional baseball game, and my son is at it with the Leadership Institute. He's out there learning to be a community leader and all that stuff.
Nice.
And their lawmakers, after playing the game, are walking up from the field, up out of the stadium, and my son's sitting there, and he goes, "Hey, anybody want to play a game with me? Anybody want to play a game?" And he's like, "Sure, which one?" He goes, "Let's do rock, paper, scissors for hats."
Oh,
and we'll trade hats. Whoever loses, gets the other's hat and all that stuff. And he's like, I won't do hat, but I'll do ball game. So he digs in and does a ball from the game. Yeah. And my son wins, cool. And then they go. He's like, well, let's ante it up a little bit. And so they keep going up a little bit, till my son wins his cleat.
Ah, my God, that's fantastic. That is wonderful.
I tweet about this, and Marlon responds. He goes, "Hey, I've heard about your show. Would love to be on sometime." And I'm like, that would be awesome. Let's do it.
Fantastic.
So he's going to join us here in a few minutes.
That's fantastic. Now, just for the casual lay person, sounds like your son is pretty good at this old rock, paper, scissors thing.
Yeah, right.
Does he have a technique, and are you willing to share it with us?
Well, I saw it online, and here's the technique.
Yeah.
The congressman is a gracious loser.
And
excellent. Revealed early on that he was just going to throw a rock.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's nice.
So,
that is nice.
Marlin Stutzman will be joining us. We got John Decker on the latest happening in Iran. White House correspondent will give us the update there. Jimmy Sengenberger was in the courtroom for the trial of Mike Lindell. We'll get the latest on what happened with that case. And then Mitch Morrissey from the Common Sense Institute, former DA for the county of Denver, is joining us to talk about the latest report coming from the Common Sense Institute on fentanyl. So we're covering Colorado, we're covering Mike Lindell in cases, Iran, and funny little games that happened in Congress.
Funny little games, and maybe some lawmakers having a good idea.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the Indiana lawmaker is going to join us, and he's got a good idea.
An Emergency Spending Accountability Act he's introduced.
So. And it's going to fail because it has the word accountability in there. That's the one thing that's not going to work in Congress.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Remember, try the veal. I'll be here until Tuesday.
Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Wednesday morning. 51 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 82 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Do you think if the U.S. got involved militarily, it would actually wipe out Iran's nuclear program, or where's your assessment of that?
Well, I hope their program is going to be wiped out long before that, but they're not going to have it anyway.
Members of Congress on both sides of the aisle looking to limit U.S. involvement in the Iran-Israel conflict amid reports that the DJT administration is weighing an offensive strike against Iran. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine has introduced legislation that aims to limit 47's war power. It would keep the president from being able to use military force in Iran, with Congress authorizing it. Meanwhile, Republican Congressman Thomas Massie once again has introduced an Iran war powers resolution. In a post on X, Massie said, "This is not our war." Tucker Carlson agrees, but sometimes great conservatives will disagree. Ted Cruz on with Tucker last night.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here, because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel. High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
Man, that's hard to listen to, but this is going to be huge. There were probably 20 things within that interview. The press awaiting to hear more from the president this morning, and I'm sure that will come up again. Maybe not. We will see. Here we go again. Police in Aurora believe gang activity linked to TDA is taking place at a local apartment building again. Chief Todd Chamberlain held a news conference and showed a video recorded at the Innovation at Fitz Apartments on Potomac Street. It showed 9 armed men banging on the door of an apartment of 2 people from Venezuela, and Chamberlain said 2 of those involved have been taken into custody, and a subsequent investigation shows the activity is linked to TDA or an affiliate. Chamberlain said officers have been aggressively patrolling the complex since the video was turned in to police. The terrorist Mohammed Solomon, the 45-year-old Egyptian national who tried to kill as many people as he could in the Pearl Street Park in Boulder with his homemade bombs, is set to appear in court today for a preliminary hearing at 10. No new updates since Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was hospitalized Monday after an allergic reaction. Noem was taken to George Washington Hospital in D.C. The secretary was said to be alert and recovering. Senator Alex Padilla, remember him? Who staged the political stunt last week at Noem's presser in California, channeling his inner Jimmy Smits on Tuesday, trying to win an Emmy, I think. What a fraud.
I was pushed and pulled, struggled to maintain my balance. I was forced to the ground. First on my knees, and then flat on my chest. And as I was handcuffed and marched down a hallway, repeatedly asking, why am I being detained? I pray you never have a moment like this. But I will tell you, in that moment, a lot of questions came to my mind. Am I?
Like, how in the world was I elected when I can't?
So I tweeted yesterday, I love what ICE is doing because we're getting a twofer. Blake?
Yeah, yes.
We're arresting illegal immigrants via ICE and performative Democrats.
That was great. I love that.
It's a two-for-one with ICE.
It is,
so keep
man.
It up.
It is free.
If any of those, former theater kids want to come on down and cry in front of ICE and disrupt any
That's right.
press conferences, ICE is there to take you into custody, and you can go to the floor of the Senate and cry again.
There is a cost for it, and that's repairing all the damage. But, there is some entertainment, quote-unquote, somewhere in there. I agree with you, Jeff. New York City mayoral candidate Brad Lander, he tried to pull the same garbage on Tuesday and was released after being arrested at immigration court on Tuesday. He was trying to help some illegals and then just fighting everybody in the hallways and by the elevator. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. The Florida Panthers win their second straight Stanley Cup, defeating the Oilers last night 5-1 in Game 6, and the WNBA players are freaking ridiculous, just jealous of the player who's helping them actually make money and more money. Caitlin Clark took at least 2 more cheap shots last night. This has been going on for 2 seasons now. She had a shot to the eye, and then it just went on and on. The officials let it slide. They are horrible, just horrible officials. Bunch of dummies in the WNBA. They better figure that out, or they're gonna suffer. Rockies beat the Nationals 10-6 the final. 49 in Aurora, 50 in North Glen, 51 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continuing. It's Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Skies will be clearing as dry high pressure sets over Denver and the Front Range. Early morning temps will be in the lower 50s. With sunshine for Wednesday, highs will be a pleasant lower to mid 80s with lows upper 50s Wednesday night. Hot temps just in time for the changeover to summer Thursday through Saturday. Sunny and dry, middle and upper 90s with lows low and mid 60s. Skies clear in the overnight. Weather brought to you by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather. Schedule your free no obligation roof inspection at roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Jason in Denver texted in, Tucker and Ted sound a lot like Bill and Jeff. I thought the
funny.
exact same thing when I was listening to that.
Yeah. I was like, and there's part of me that I was listening to that with Ted going, dude, you got a law degree. You should be better at this than this one. How you letting Tucky go at you like this? You're not better. It's that, yeah. Although I don't think that Ted was expecting that kind of pushback. But
well, and those types of details.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
You know, that type of thing.
Although I do think the population is that necessarily important? Okay, ethnic makeup, yeah. But the idea of not knowing the population size, okay. But still, that was funny though.
It was. It'll be interesting to see the entire piece today, and they're doing a good job getting everybody's interest in it.
Yeah, they are. So. That's the thing. It has piqued interest. So, yeah, that is fun.
Good, feisty debate from time to time. All right. Colorado cities ranked among worst run in the U.S. after 36 data points crunched. Are you surprised? This is from Out There, Colorado. A report was recently published by Wallet Hub aimed at determining which cities across the country were considered the best run or best managed by local leadership. In order to complete the data analysis, the nation's 148 most populated cities were compared across 36 key metrics split into 6 greater categories: financial stability, education, health, safety, economy, infrastructure, and pollution. 3 Colorado cities met the criteria to be included in the report. So 3 cities among the 148th most populated cities in America: Colorado Springs, Aurora, and Denver. Once the numbers were crunched, Bill, no Colorado city made the cut to be included in the top 10.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Or the top 25.
Okay.
Or the top 50.
Okay.
The first Colorado city to make an appearance was Colorado Springs, ranked 59th overall among the 148 cities included in the report. Meanwhile, Aurora ranked 96th and Denver ranked 134th.
Ouch.
One factor that really hurt Denver was how it tied for 146th place rank in the long-term debt outstanding per capita metric.
The what metric?
Long-term debt outstanding per capita.
Oh, so basically that we just charge too much on our credit card.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's that idea of where eventually in your many people have that experience in their mid-20s where they realize, I owe how much? That my minimum payment is what? And it doesn't seem so minimum anymore. Yeah, that's what it seems like. It makes
Denver
sense.
in its mid-20s.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. You know, the $356 million spent on illegal immigrants, that's sure looking real good right now, isn't it?
And we had questions about that at the time as far as, okay, seems like a lot. Where's it coming from? Are we going to be able to? And this, to me, is one of those shell games that oftentimes we get from lawmakers where it's because we're going to do X, we're going to derive Y as an economic benefit. I'm certain that the people that were convincing themselves that $350 million to spend on those programs were going to result in a larger tax revenue base because you'd convert them into workers and they would be having apartments, and that didn't happen. And so they were assuming a benefit on the other side to make them feel better about spending the money. But, in this case, it's, paying to have your sprinkler system redone and then finding out that one of the lines is cracked. It didn't work. What you thought was going to happen didn't work.
I think you're too kind to them to think there was any actual economic benefit. I think they just felt good about it. Look, I'm a nice little progressive. Well, Bill, what city do you think did the best?
Ooh, that's a strange one. Because that's like, what one would you pick? I mean, we can knock off L.A., New York, Vegas.
They make the best neighbors.
Yeah, they make the best neighbors.
Best neighbors.
Jeez. I don't know. The thing for me is I would probably go, and this is weird, is I would go to smaller rural communities just because of, how they deal with each other.
Well, it's the 148th biggest cities, so that they lump them all together. I know, that's what I'm saying. So it's, I'm looking at smaller, like where would you go? Because it's 148, but again, Colorado Springs is in there. So we're looking at that mid-size. We don't have to go to those huge population centers. Ooh, man. How about somewhere like a Bellevue, Washington? I'm not sure that's long enough because that would be outside the metro, but I'm not sure that would Provo, Utah.
There we go. Okay, that makes sense.
The Stormin' Mormons, man.
Okay, that makes sense.
They're great. They make the best neighbors.
That makes sense. Yeah, they do. We have Mormon neighbors, people that are live next door to us. They're fantastic.
They do.
They are wonderful people.
Good neighbors. Worst run city. This one's not hard.
Yeah, worst run. God, I'd put New York. But
San Francisco.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, San Francisco.
Worst
that would make sense.
City. So top run city, more conservative. Worst run city, more progressive.
Now we may get some San Francisco updates here in the near future, anecdotal ones at best. But one of my, it's odd that we mentioned San Francisco today, because one of my best friends on this entire entire rock that we call Earth is leaving Denver and moving back to live with his family in San Francisco. His parents are at an advanced age, and it's time where they need some more attention than he and his sisters can give remotely. And so they need someone that is more around, and Dad's really struggling at this time and going through some dementia, and so he's going to be headed home. And so he's leaving the next couple of days. This is really kind of hard. But yeah, he will be going back home to San Francisco is where they live. And so, he will be able to give us, if we want, personal updates about what's going on inside of the city. And he grew up there, so he will have an interesting perspective. It would be like you, Jeff, when you left the great state of Colorado, went on your walkabout across this great fruited plain and went to D.C. and lived with the demons for a while, then came back here to God's blessed country. And then you went, the hell happened here? Who moved here while I was gone? Yeah, it'll be kind of one of those things. So it'll be kind of that really weird experience that he's going to have.
Well, we're going to talk with Representative Marlin Stutzman up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. As you may or may not know, my wife and I spent years in Washington, D.C. I worked on the Senate side for the Senate Republican Conference. My wife worked for 2 different members of Congress as a legislative assistant, and we had 3 of our 4 kids there. So D.C. is a special place for us, and our family loves the political work. We just love to be right in the middle of all the action, all the debates taking place. So my son's working his way up, becoming a young man and attending Leadership Institute events, and happened to be in Washington, D.C. for the congressional baseball game. Now, this is one of the most fun moments all year in Congress because you get Republicans playing Democrats. Both teams have practices. If you remember, there was an unfortunate shooting that took place a few years ago with Steve Scalise at one of these baseball games. That's why it was part of what made it so tragic was this is like one of the few moments where Washington, D.C. gets together and has a little fun. And it is a really fun day out at the ballpark, at the Nationals ballpark. And Jared Polis is often out there playing. It's just a really fun moment in American sports. Well, my son's there with Leadership Institute, spending a whole week. And lo and behold, he's hanging out after the game, and members of Congress are walking by, and he's asking different members if they want to play rock, paper, scissors and trade a hat or a ball. And lo and behold, Representative Marlin Stutzman walks by as my son's asking this, and he is a really good sport. And they play first for a ball, and then the antes get up and up and up. Lo and behold, my son comes home with Marlin Stutzman's cleat. And I'm like, how in the world is this? And it's prominently displayed on his desk. He's thrilled. Young man, never going to forget this. Great memory and a good sport. So I tweet about this and thank Marlin Stutzman for being a good sport and giving my son a good memory he'll never forget. Well, we end up having a conversation. He tells me some of the work he's doing in Congress, and this is important. We'll talk about that in a second. But he's joining the show, Representative Marlin Stutzman, Congressman from Indiana's 3rd District. Good morning, sir. Thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Great to be with you guys. It was a fun night, and you described the story well. You got a great boy there.
Thank you. He's going to love this, and I know he's listening. Well, Marlin, first of all, you guys won the game. It was a big victory for Republicans. Talk about that.
Yeah, so as you described, I mean, it's a great event. I mean, of course, baseball is America's pastime, and the Congressional Baseball Game for Charity is for such a great cause. It's for the Boys and Girls Club in D.C., and we raised almost $3 million for that particular event. And it's also, like you said, it's a bipartisan event where Republicans play Democrats. And, ever since I was first elected to Congress, I've always played in the game, and it's such a good rivalry, and of course we have a lot of fun with it, but we also take it seriously because, of course, if you're in politics, you don't like to lose, and so you want to win. And so when a young guy asks you, for your hat or for a ball or whatever, and you start playing rock, paper, scissors, you don't know how far it's going to go, and I lost my shoe, and so at least I walked out of there with my shirt on.
Marlin Stutzman, representative from Indiana's 3rd District. And we had Representative Jeff Crank in yesterday, and I asked Jeff, great friend of the program, if he was part of the baseball team. He said, no, because you got to practice at 5 in the morning. So tell folks about the practices and the commitment that goes into the congressional baseball game.
Yeah, no, he's right. So Roger Williams, congressman from Fort Worth, Texas, is the coach. And he used to play in the Atlanta Braves baseball organization. In fact, he'll tell us stories sometimes about Hank Aaron, and he even played against Willie Mays. And he's making us, in 2025, take this as seriously as Willie Mays and Hank Aaron. And of course, we're working long hours in Washington, and usually it goes early in the morning to late at night. So if we want good practice time, we're up at 5 a.m. out on the field by 5:30 and warming up. And Coach Williams, he cracks the whip on us, and he starts. So the game is usually the second week in June usually, and we start practices in March. There was a couple of times there was still some snow flurries. We're all out there shivering, but if you don't show up, you don't play. And so that's why it's important to be out there practicing with the team. But such a great place to build camaraderie. And I tell you what, a lot of business actually gets done out on the baseball field or in the dugout. Senator Ernst comes. She's usually there. Of course, Senator Eric Schmidt. So a couple of the senators are playing, and it's a great place to find out what's going on in the Senate and, what's going on in the House. And so you got the baseball caucus that is not only having a good time playing baseball, but also getting work done out on the diamond.
That voice is Representative Marlin Stutzman. No, you don't recognize that. Oh, sorry. What is it? Sorry.
Marlin.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. No, I wrote that. I'm sorry.
All right. I've been called worse.
No. I apologize, Marlin. That's my fault. It's. So, Marlin Stutzman, Congressman, Indiana's 3rd District. I write notes and I wrote down the name. I'm sorry. I apologize about that one. Now, what I want to know is, when you talked about the flurries during baseball practice, that's something that is near and dear to Colorado kids' hearts. That's how we have to start out the baseball season here. Question I've got for you, Representative, do you have baseball in your past? You had cleats. It leads me to believe that you might have a little bit of experience. If so, what was your position as a little leaguer, and why did they not let you play it in the congressional baseball game?
Yeah, no, great question. And yeah, I grew up in loving baseball. I'm a big Cubs fan and also a White Sox fan. My dad took me to my first White Sox game in 1983, and Carlton Fisk, Ron Kittle. They won the pennant that year. And then in 1984, he took me to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field. And I was a Ryan Sandberg and Leon Durham fan for many years, and still a big Cubs fan. So our family loves baseball. My dad always played fast pitch softball or slow pitch softball. Well, then we grew up playing Little League, and I played either shortstop or pitcher. But then I also, in high school, I went to a really small high school, so we had a small team, but it was a pretty decent team. But, I would pitch one game, and my buddy would catch, and the next game I would catch, and he would pitch, and we would just move around the field. So I played a lot of positions. And, of course, after I got married and, life starts getting busier, I didn't play baseball, but I played a lot of softball with my friends and always took it very seriously. But then over time, when I was in Congress, I tore my labrum in my shoulder, so I couldn't pitch anymore, so it hurts to pitch. But I get it warmed up well enough and get the rust out of it to where I can play infield and outfield and take enough Advil and I can get through the night. So it's a lot of fun, and just glad that I can and still play it. This age, and it kind of, when you're playing a national stadium as a congressman, I mean, it kind of fulfills a lot of dreams that I had and a lot of others had of playing, Major League Baseball as a kid. But you got a nice crowd there, and of course, it's a very vocal crowd because you have Republicans on one side and Democrats on the other side. And sometimes the president even shows up. Trump was actually at the Kennedy Center that night, so he didn't make it over, but there's a rivalry on both sides with the crowd, and of course you're at the ballpark with nice warm weather, and it's just a wonderful evening.
Now, Representative Marlin Stutzman, any advice you want to give to the Rockies?
Well,
and also, if you're open and you're chasing your major league dreams, they need players, and not necessarily good ones. Because have you seen the record? Yeah. So what the hell's going wrong here in the Rocky Mountains? Why don't we have a real team?
Well, hey, I'm a Cubs fan, so once in every 100 years, it may happen. But
so you're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance.
Well, let's talk.
But you guys have a great organization, a beautiful ballpark, of course, a great place to play ball in Denver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why people go even when the Rockies are terrible. Well, let's talk business now. Representative Marlin Stutzman, you've introduced the Emergency Spending Accountability Act. Love this idea. Tell our listeners what this is all about.
Yeah, great question. And you know what? I mean, just like I grew up on the farm, playing baseball and playing with the team, and I just think that some of this stuff, and in farming's tough, and if you take on too much debt, you're going to be out of business before long. And so I introduced the Emergency Spending Accountability Act. We all know we've got $36 trillion of debt. That's huge, and a lot of that has actually accumulated since 1980. Since 1980, the debt was at $1 trillion, and now today it's $36 trillion. Of that debt, $27 trillion of it is publicly held. So some of that debt is held by the government, Social Security Trust Fund and other places where we've loaned to ourselves within government. But of that $27 trillion, $12 trillion of that is from emergency spending. Now, I think a lot of us as Americans, we think that Congress has a rainy day fund that we tap into for emergencies. So just like COVID or a hurricane in Florida, fires in California, whenever there's an emergency, we figure that, the federal government's going to come in and help get people's lives back together. Well, $12 trillion of that has been through emergency spending, not through the budget, but just a one-time spending bill over the last several decades. And so my bill says it doesn't prohibit emergency spending, but it says that it has to be paid back within 5 years rather than just putting it on the credit card and letting it accumulate debt service and interest. We're paying $1 trillion in interest every year on our debt right now. That's as much as what we spend on the military. So I think this is just common sense legislation. It's to raise awareness of how Congress operates and how it behaves. There was an old, somebody said back during the recession, you never let a good crisis go to waste. Well, Congress hasn't, and has added only to the debt that, Jeff, that your son is going to have to pay on for years and years to come. We live in the greatest nation in the world, but if we go bankrupt, it's going to be very hurtful economically to this country, and that's why we got to get things back on track. And this is one of those ways, I think, that just says, look, help take care of Americans, but just pay for it.
That's Representative Marlin Stutzman. Representative, what's been the response from Republican and Democratic colleagues on this bill?
Well, it's been good. I've got quite a few co-sponsors, and a lot of people agree with it in principle. But this is where, us as members of Congress, we've got to take some action. We've got to be sure that we constrain ourselves because, Congress can always change the rules, and that's why it's important to set the rules on budgeting and follow them. And it's always during those crises where we overreact. Congress overreacts and always spends more money than that is necessary. I mean, I'm a business guy. Like I said, I come from agriculture and manufacturing, and if you spend too much money and you don't have the income later, you're in trouble. And so you got to, even under those emergency circumstances, be careful in what you do and how you do it. And you should also sometimes offset that by not spending somewhere else. And it's easy to spend somebody else's money. It's hard when it's your own. And that's what the unfortunate circumstances that we're in. It just seems like too many members of Congress don't want to cut spending. And, for example, we just passed a rescissions package last week that cut out the USAID funding. We found a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. And I also argue, too, that instead of sending money overseas, let's start sending this money back to Americans. I mean, there's so many small towns across this country that could use $1 million for an infrastructure project or could use $1 million for, a new road. I mean, for real needs, our infrastructure is aging. And instead of sending that money over to parts of the world that don't even like us, let's just use that money at home. Or I have a lot of Hoosiers tell me, just put it towards the debt. They don't like the debt and the deficits. They're afraid that we're going to eventually have a debt crisis, and that's going to be have a huge economic impact. So that's where I think a lot of us, we're going to have to realize that we got to cut back. We have to grow the economy, but we also have got to rein in spending, and that's what I'm hoping that this at least drive that conversation to doing that.
That's Representative Marlin Stutzman. He represents Indiana's 3rd Congressional District. He's introduced a bill, the Emergency Spending Accountability Act. Now, reading this bill and reading your statements about it, what it reminds me of is essentially the exploitation of a loophole. And similar to kind of the asylum claims that illegal immigrants will come, the asylum process is an important process for people that are actually being threatened, persecuted in other countries. And what happened was progressives learned, well, if you just show up into this country and claim asylum, well, you're going to be thrown into a system that's going to take years to process, and so there's abuse that's taking place in that system. What it seems to be happening on the spending side is that lawmakers have learned that, well, if we just declare anything an emergency, we can quickly get money for it, not have to go through the appropriations process, and as a result, as you point out, $14 trillion of the $36 trillion can be attributed to this unbudgeted emergency spending. Is that a fair analysis?
Yeah, Jeff, I you mentioned, I can tell you've been in Washington, because that's right. And oftentimes, Congress put itself in this, well, this is just what we have to do. We just have to do this. And that's not always that's not necessarily true. I mean, there's times when, think of the private sector. And that's why America is such a great country, is because the people are great. And, it's not that government is the only solution to a circumstance, whenever there's an emergency. Now, I get it. I mean, Congress should be part of it. But, I grew up in a family where my dad and my granddad, whenever there was a tornado in Oklahoma or a hurricane in Louisiana, they were grabbing other people, jumping in a van, and they were headed to those areas to help clean up and rebuild. And there's a lot of private organizations that do that. And I think it's important that, public and private sectors work together, but it's not, you look at the efficiency of the private sector, and, when somebody gives a donation to a church or a charity that does work like that, they're always, they're going to be careful how much money they spend and where all the money goes. So, but it just seems like Congress, and we saw this last couple of years with the hurricane damage down in North Carolina and Florida and other parts of the country, they just throw money at it, just keep throwing money at it, and we don't even know where all the money goes. So that's why there has to be greater accountability in this emergency spending, because we shouldn't be putting irrigation systems on golf courses through emergency spending. That's not what the money is for.
That's good financial stewardship. Representative Marlin Stutzman, representing Indiana's 3rd Congressional District, joining Jeff and Bill, has introduced the Emergency Spending Accountability Act. We'll continue to follow that. Be sure to give him a follow on X at Rep Stutzman, Rep Stutzman. Sir, thank you so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show and being a really good sport to my son. You gave him a memory he'll never forget.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Representative. And just a little bit of marketing advice. You put accountability into the title of your bill. Congress, accountability. Have you met those people? I'm not certain. I think you're losing people just with the title, sir. Also, just in case. Yeah, go ahead.
No, maybe I can win the American people, but I appreciate the point well taken.
Good. And also, just in case one of those Democrats comes over and offers to do rock, paper, scissors with you over any budget deal, take a pass. So far, you've lost those. So just a friendly bit of advice, but I appreciate your time, sir. You've been so much fun today. Thank you.
Hey, absolutely. Jeff, tell your son I said hi, and maybe next year I'll get my shoe back or he wins the other one. So tell him I said hello.
I love that. The gauntlet has been thrown down.
That's right. Representative Marlin Stutzman, thank you again. Have a wonderful day, sir.
Have a great day, sir.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Give him a follow. Rep Stutzman, Stutzman on X. Yeah, you can see he's a good sport. He's a lot of fun.
The fact that he was willing to give up one of his baseball cleats, that's a special dude. That's someone that understands this. Yeah.
Well, his son shows up. He's like, I got a cleat.
Yeah, I got a cleat.
From a member of Congress. What? And you're like...
Yeah, the first thing into your mind is, did you steal it? That is the first thing that runs through my mind.
We pinned him down and stole it. Yeah. And took up a bunch of...
Yeah, exactly. A bunch of little kids. We gave him noogies until he said, I give. Yes.
All right, we've got You Choose the News. Coming up, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
This is just brutal song to play on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it is. At least it's on a Monday, though. At least on Monday, where it's like, you just left the weekend. Ha, 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 ha. It's like it's laughing in your face.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Remember the lovely Friday you had 2 days ago?
Yes, I know.
All right. Now is time of the morning. We give you a little levity to help you get through Wednesday with a little You Choose the News.
Yes, we are halfway there. Oh, deep breath. It's time for America's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. I've spent moments this morning scouring the interwebs for really dumb stories about us humans and given them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why would we possibly do this at 6:49 in the morning here in Colorado? Well, because those in charge don't wake up until 7. So when left unsupervised, stuff like this happens. Just ask Jeff's parents and my parents about what happened when we were teenagers. Yes, only they knew the danger that exists at this time of the morning when we are left without adult supervision. As always, you got to bring somebody in on your great plan, too. That's why Blake Olson joins us from the newsroom. So, gentlemen, here are your stories this morning. Headline number 1, weight loss increase. Headline number 2, do it for the company. Headline number 3, death will bring him back to life. And headline number 4, Stevie Ray Vaughan has some questions. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
Do it for the company.
Yeah, do it for the company. Here we find ourselves in Brooklyn, New York. The head of sales at a Bay Area startup said it was alleged to have taken some really extreme measures to encourage teamwork on their sales team at the time. During a 2013 sales meeting, head of sales Rachel Cherowitz, now 44, was upset that profits were down at the New York City branch of One Taste. A former sales employee named Max testified in court recently that Cherowitz attributed the dip in sales to sexual tension between a couple of employees. So, Rachel promptly ordered the two, get out of the meeting right now and go have sex. Don't come back until you do.
Wow.
Yes, the sales leader told the members of the team to go get freaky. Prosecutors are presenting their forced labor conspiracy case against Cherowitz and One Taste founder Nicole Dadone, who's 57, and other employees are coming up and backing up the testimony. Now, other individuals say yes, sexual encounters were encouraged between team members. In fact, one woman named Becky said she was advised to have a makeout session with one other salesperson on the team. In fact, freaks? Yes, and the company forced the sales team to live together in a communal apartment in Harlem. It was known as the Moreleno. All members shared beds. Although the sales leader was there too, but she was in her own room upstairs in a penthouse. And they were instructed to even snitch on each other to see if they weren't doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing.
Sounds like a cult.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so glad you got there. That's exactly where prosecutors are going. That this was more of a cult-like attitude than an actual employment. In fact, the employees were prevented from taking vacations or sick days. Those didn't exist. But the freakiness did. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
It's kind of scary. Okay. Blake Olson, sir.
That is scary.
Weight loss increase, death will bring him back to life, or Stevie Ray Vaughan has some questions.
I'm a fan of Lazarus, so let's go with the death and life.
Yes. Death will bring him back to life. For this one, we are going to have some audio help. Liquid Death, the purveyor of canned water, has announced it has a brand new product. But you can only use it in the future? Let's take a listen.
There will never be another Ozzy Osbourne, unless you have his actual DNA. Introducing infinitely recyclable Ozzy by Liquid Death. These cans of low-calorie iced tea with B vitamins have each been drunk by Ozzy himself. And each can contains trace DNA from Ozzy's saliva, as well as his handwritten signature. Now, once technology and federal law permits, you can replicate Ozzy and enjoy him for hundreds of years into the future. Just imagine if you could bring back early 80s Ozzy. He can mow your lawn, perform at kids' birthday parties, so get your can of infinitely recyclable Ozzy. No, this is not a joke. Yes, these contain Ozzy's actual DNA. There's only 10 available. Act now.
Yes, it is for real. Liquid Death had Ozzy Osbourne consume 10 different cans, then they resealed them. These cans are totally empty, but they have Ozzy's DNA.
There's
10 of them. Yep, and there are only 10 available, and they're valued at $450 a piece right now. They're being sold on the Liquid Death website to anybody who is lucky enough to snag one. Yes, you could have some of Ozzy's DNA and maybe your own Ozzy far, far in the future when we're able to do that thing.
That's fun. I thought you were going to say like 4,000 or
No.
10,000.
Yeah.
Wow, $400.
Yeah, $450. Yeah, $450. That's it. Yeah, but there are only 10 of those.
Sydney Sweeney's bathwater and Ozzy's
I know.
spit.
Yeah,
we are falling behind, my friend. All we did is T-shirts. That's doing good. Yeah,
exactly.
I know. Alrighty, final choice this morning, Jeff. Weight loss increase or Stevie Ray Vaughan has questions.
Weight loss increase.
Yeah, weight loss increase. This has been a really weird You Choose the News. But it's my fault. Alrighty, totally my fault. The massive upturn. Yeah, so the massive upturn in the use of weight loss drugs such as Ozempic may not be the only thing that is growing right now when people are using those JLP-1 injections. Reports are some of the guys that have been using it say they're finding some growth in some rather sexy areas. Yes, some are reporting increased size below the equator. And that's been a nice surprise. Plenty of people have been reporting these side effects, and some of the side effects with some of these weight loss drugs have been awful. But little Jimmy getting bigger Jimmy, that sounds pretty good. However, it may not be everything that it is cracked up to be. Before you go rushing off to say, hey, I got to get me some of that weight loss magic, well, an actual doctor has said no. What happens is, because of the Ozempic or the weight loss drugs, some of the fat around little Jimmy is reducing, which gives the illusion of it being a little bit bigger. Plus, when your belly is reduced, everything looks bigger down there anyway, so it's a bit of an optical illusion. So, yeah, sorry about that. That's exactly what's happening. So, no, it's not making things grow. It's just the fact that it's losing weight and everything looks better. Ah, yes. Again, it's totally my fault this morning.
I'm just glad the congressman's hung up at this point and moved on with his day.
Oh, I know. I am always the problem child. Well, that's the end of You Choose the News. I'm sure I'm going to have to talk to HR later on today. Back to you, Jeff.
All right, John Decker, White House correspondent, joining us in the next hour. Give us all the latest details on Iran, Israel, and we'll turn a corner. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Tell me about an odd segue. This is KNUS.